So today I'll show you how to create this clean animated hero section using AI in just 3 steps. And I'll generate the artwork and turn it into a video with a transparent background and then build everything into a unique hero section in Framer. And I'll walk you through each step from visuals to web design so you can follow along if you'd like. And I prepared a free download with all the assets that I use in this video, which you can find in the description. My name is Ruben Stom and I create content around AI and design. And if that's something that you're interested in, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you and enjoy today's video. So the first step is to create the images that I want to use, one of the astronaut and one of the background. And I use Nano to generate the image of the astronaut because this model currently makes the most realistic looking images. And the prompt that I use is a hyper-realistic photo of an astronaut floating in space. Behind the astronaut is a dark space with small stars, and the photo is minimalistic and the angle of the astronaut is slightly to the side as if he is looking next to the camera. The helmet is blacked out so no face is visible in a 4:5 ratio. And I really love this result. It is so realistic and precisely what I was looking for. So now the next step is to remove the background and replace it with a green color. And this will function as a green screen in the next step. And I use this method to place the astronaut on a transparent background later in the video editor. So for now I ask Nano to replace the background with this specific green color, which is a common green screen green. Okay, now that I have the astronaut isolated, I need the background image. And I do this by removing the astronaut from the image in Photoshop, leaving only the background. So I open the photo of the astronaut in Adobe Photoshop. I select the Magic Wand tool and auto-select the subject. I expand the selection by a few pixels and then use Generative Fill to remove the astronaut from the image, leaving only an image of a space. And I also adjust the contrast. And finally, I export it as a JPEG with 60% quality to keep a high enough resolution image, but with a low file size. So now we have 2 images, one of the astronaut on a green screen and one of the background. The next step is to turn the image into a video with a transparent background. So I upload the image of the isolated astronaut to a new chat window in Gemini. I select VEO 3.1 and add this prompt. And the trick here is not to overdo the movement, which is a bit difficult in VEO 3.1, but with this prompt, where I explicitly tell it not to zoom, spin or reposition the subject, it does understand its task. And look at that video, I really love the motion and that's exactly the type of animation that I need for this to work. But the issue is that the background isn't transparent yet. So to have the astronaut float above the header, we need him to have a transparent background. And there are multiple ways to do this, but I like using Premiere Pro. I create a new project and import my video. I then position the subject in the center and add an ultra key effect. And when I select the key color and set the preset to aggressive, it automatically removes all the green. I slightly improve the mask by adjusting the settings, and when I'm done, I export it as a WEBM file. I want to quickly address the WEBM file format for a second. So a WEBM file is a video format specifically made for the web. And the upside of using WEBM is that it is supported by Framer, which I'll use to create today's design. And it has a relatively low file size, which is important for website loading speeds. But the downside is that some browsers may not always support the transparent alpha channel. And if that happens, you could add a GIF or a PNG image as a fallback, for example. And Premiere Pro doesn't support WEBM formats out of the box, so I use a free plugin for this and I'll add a link to the plugin in the video description. And you could also export your video as a MOV file and convert it using Cloud Convert, which is a free tool as well. And this is in case if you don't want to install a third-party plugin on your computer. Okay, back in Premiere Pro, I go to the Export tab and set the format to WebM. And I make sure that the codec is set to VP9 and that the alpha channel is included. And this ensures that the background will be transparent. And you can play around with the quality slider to adjust the file size. I hit export and that's it. We now have the visuals that we need for our design. I open Framer to create today's design and start with a blank project. And I add a new vertical stack, which will be the main container, and the height will automatically adjust to the content and the width will match the browser window. Next, I rename the frames inside the main container, as this will become the hero section. And later, once the hero section is finished, you'll have the option to add more sections and extend your web page. I set the height to a fixed 800 pixels and set the background color to a solid black. I then add a third frame inside the hero section, which will be the container for the text and the image. And this will be 80% wide with a max width of 1200 pixels. I remove the background color from the container and add a navigation bar. And I drag the navigation bar above the hero section and set the positioning to absolute to make it float above the hero section. Now that the layout of the page is set up, I start by adjusting the design. And I begin by altering the navigation bar. I remove what I don't need and replace the logo. And once the navigation bar is done, I add the text to the container and style it. The large heading adjusts automatically to its container and the subtitle and the button are aligned to the left. I use Inter as the font to create a modern look and feel, and I add a button with rounded edges. The next step is to upload the video and the background image we created in the first two steps. So first the background image. I create a new horizontal stack with an 800 pixel height inside the hero section. I set the position to absolute and I remove the gap. Then I make sure that the image height is set to fill and I duplicate the image. Next the video, I set the positioning to absolute, the width to 500 pixels and the height to fit. Then I add it to the stack containing the text and the button. For the placement, I eyeball where to position the astronaut as a starting point. What's left now are the animations, and for the astronaut I use a subtle appear effect that starts when the site loads and makes him slide in from the right. Then I add a scroll effect that changes the astronaut's position once the user starts scrolling. And here you can see the settings for both effects that I use. And for the background I use a parallax effect with a 40% speed. And there you have it, a beautiful and very unique hero section using AI, from the first image all the way to the animated design in Framer. And you can now expand on this design and add more sections and make it fully responsive. And if you enjoyed this video or learned something new, please give it a like and subscribe for more content about AI and design. And if you have any questions, please leave them down below in the comment section and I'll make sure to answer them. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.